This media center continues its work, and our next briefing is progress of the preparation of the 5th Odesa Biennale of Contemporary Art. Now we have two speakers on this scene, Mykhailo Rashkovetsky, Biennale Curator, and Mykola Karabinovych, Curators Assistants. Very soon the 5th Odesa Biennale of Contemporary Art will take place. We have an online translation and also English simultaneous translation. Thank you. By the way, I have the whole collection of different versions of my surname. The last version was Rashkovetsky. It was a pamphlet about my participation in the selection commission for Ukrainian National Venice Biennale project. And before starting my speech, before starting this briefing, I got remembered that in the last in the previous century, there was one of the largest Ukrainian nationwide exhibitions took place. It was hosted in this building. It was named the Space of Cultural Revolution, and we had big hopes for the space, institutional space, for what we name contemporary arts, modern visual arts, and so far we still hope to have it. Odesa Biennale of Modern Arts, in the full sense of this word, not as international biennale, because international biennale means when 3/4 of the participants are from other countries, but biennale with the participation of foreign artists. It was launched in 2013. This was the third Odesa Biennale, and this year Miroslav Kulczycki and me, the Odesa Modern Arts Museum, which hosts Odesa Biennales, the museum invited us as co-curators. Since the time we are co-curators, but the Biennale of Modern Arts, sometimes it's organizing as dangerous for life, because 50% of our composition was lost. Miroslav Kulczycki died before his 45th birthday. He didn't survive his 45th birthday. I'd like to say the most important thing. It is my official statement. Odesa Biennale of Modern Arts, of Contemporary Art, will be conducted under the Renaissance Foundation financial assistance. The previous Biennale of Contemporary Art was conducted without any grants. Not any grant was provided to us. What we name contemporary art in our country is non-commercial art. It is art. I'm not talking about media. This art should focus on the most sore problem in the society. This is what we are doing. We have been doing that since 2013. And I'd like to say a few words about our Biennale and its main features. There are many biennales in the world, and what are specific features of our biennale in Odesa? Talking about our country, the biennale as 2 years regular exhibitions, and our Odesa Biennale is the only regular event according to its type or genre. That's the only regular event. You know that non-stop media is held every 3 years, but it is limited to Ukrainian participants, and there is also age limit. Only young artists can take part in it. So the Biennale of Contemporary Art is held only in Odesa, if we talk about our country. What is the second feature? There are many biennales in the world, and some people criticize biennales. There was a group exhibition definition, and it was named just like group tome. When many authors are displayed, and they should coexist either in the one platform or in the scope of joint unified sensual platform. Contemporary art is contextual art. So if I showed you Mariupol restaurant mosaic, this is one context. If this is not a mosaic but just a printed version of it, it is the other sense. Contemporary art focuses on contexts, but still I think that biennales should exist, even not one biennale, but so the average temperature in the hospital room, I name it, the biennale, is a significant, important event because it is a kind of index of the state of the artistic process in the contemporary arts space, the attitudes of artists to social processes, relationships between the state and non-state institutions. So I hope we will continue holding Ukrainian biennales, and maybe new Ukrainian biennales will appear soon. What I can say about peculiarities of this biennale, this is a triple sense exhibition. The concepts continue to be created. This is the third biennale. All 3 biennales were about the same thing, but in different time context. The idea of 2013's Biennale was generated in 2012. It was self-governance. Artistic revolution versus revolution. Nobody thought those days about revolutionary events possibility in Ukraine. Our biennales are not only reflection, not just analysis of the contemporary developments, but we also look at it as a prognostic model. We think that the arts are possible to prognose two forecast events. The manifesto was the second Biennale. Manifesto, not manifesta. They focused on large-scale deficit of ideas. In general, there was consensus as to what we are struggling against, talking in very simple terms, but we didn't understand what for we are struggling. It is hard to talk about consensus. That is why we propose that our curators and artists declare their artistic manifests and this way to represent and to present their works, to display their works. And this Biennale is the third one. It is a triptych. It will start on August 26. It is named Turbulence Area. We thought over this concept far before the elections of the US President Donald Trump, when some turbulence events in the world happened, and I'm very thankful to Crisis Media Center, to Ukraine Crisis Media Center. In our view, the world, not only Ukraine, is undergoing the crisis. Crisis is the most permanent thing in the world. We can't hope that any time the crisis would end. We should learn how to live in this radically accelerating dynamic reality. We should be ready to unpredictable turns and modeling, simulating this turbulent world we should live. I'd like to give the floor to my colleague to tell about the participants. The Biennale's organizing is rather complicated thing. Excuse me, I'd like to ask you a specifying question. The participants list is very impressive, and you talked that there were no grants during previous Biennales. They were not supported by funds. Where do you have so big hopes for success of the fifth Biennale? The fourth Biennale didn't have funds support, grants support. Who told you that? I am sure. Of course, organizers always panic. It is normal, and I do not have any belief, and the fourth Biennale was more popular than the third Biennale among our spectators, and I hope that the fifth exhibition would be more popular than the fourth was. We have very many participants, and honestly speaking, every time we declare the task, which is hardly implementable, well, but it is doable. We are not afraid of failure, because even the failure is some sign, but we will do our best to bring success to this Biennale. Previously, there were also many participants, but this year we will have more foreign participants, more than 100 works and projects will be displayed. One project or one work sometimes is not a product of one author. This could be a product of several authors. We give priority to Ukrainian participants, and we pay attention this year to mobile biennales, field biennales, which will be held in Kherson, Pavlograd, Chernovtsi, and other cities and towns of Ukraine. In Chernivtsi will be some artistic event held, and some exhibition also will be held in Kherson. The priority is given to Ukrainian artists. They are very famous. You can see them in our list. We do not use the celebrities approach. We do not look on the names. We look on the works themselves. However, some most prominent artists, Ukrainian artists, will take part, but however, foreign participants, they impress me very much. We do not pay accommodation, we do not pay travel expenses, but participants want to voice out on this problematic which is in the focus of our Biennale. Very strong projects I can name. Polish project is a very strong one. The stars of European contemporary art take part in it. Kharkiv contemporary art project is also a prominent one, and there are special projects which are components of the total Biennale project. And not all participants are included in this preliminary list which you see now. Tomorrow the composition of the isolation platform will be approved finally. A very interesting international group, along with one Ukrainian participant, Vladimir Kuznetsov. I think you know him very well, whose fresco was just painted over. He will take part. If someone would not manage to come, then maybe some other artists will arrive. So this is not the final version of the list. Yaroslav Gritsak will be the speaker in our project. Tatarchuk, very famous Polish performer and curator, Vladimir Tatarchuk, and me as my famous Katarzyna I'm not talking about Venice Biennales, but I should tell about this. Mykola Karabinovych is named the assistant curator, but he executes curator functions. So we named his position as the assistant curator position, but for the next 2 years, I'm sure it will take place whatever the weather. I will be only a consultant, and a curator will be the other one. Mr. Karabinovych is an artist, and not so. The list of our partners is very long. Not only Renaissance Foundation supports us, there are other partners. Partners are not only those who give us grants for 200,000 hryvnia. This is about 5% of everything we need for this scope of participants for the 6 or 7 platforms where the displays will be hosted. There are rumors that the Ministry of Culture has provided the grant in the amount of 50,000 hryvnias. I am very pleased that the ministry for the first time has apportioned some grant money. Our partners who provides us the platforms in the Western and Oriental Arts Museum and Local Culture Museum and the Museum of Jewish History of Odessa, where I am a parallel curator, and other parallel locations. This is our tradition. There are no right spaces in Odessa. They are even lacking in Kiev, so we use alternative spaces, just some former workshops. We also take windows of shops and use them at platforms. Thank you, Mr. Mykhailo. We are giving the floor to Mykola Karabinovych, and after that there will be the round of questions and answers.
I believe that we can start Q&A session because my colleague said everything maybe. I would like to ask a question. Who is the main organizer? Here it is said, and I said that traditionally the main organizer of Biennale is non-governmental museum of modern art of Odessa. The commissioner of Biennale is the director of this museum, Semen Kantor. He fell ill and unfortunately is not able to attend today's meeting. And also the Foundation of Development, this is NGO. This year they support us, and they supported us during previous events, and they support the activity of museum. So these are the two organizers. So you said that Biennale will be held in 2 platforms, maybe even more than 5 platforms. Whether it will be just the space or people who will work there, maybe they will use local context, some exhibitions that are permanently in these museums. Lftina Kahidza project, you maybe know about this artist, the representative of contemporary Ukrainian art. There is a project in 2 places. This is Odessa coastline and the World Club of Odessa people. So this is the example about the diversity of use of space in Odessa. And many projects are in open space. It is difficult, but what can we do? Not only closed spaces will be used, specially equipped, such as museums and galleries, but also alternative platforms and spaces and open spaces. Okay, I have a question to Mykola. Tell us, please. So, you are a new member of a Biennale team, and Mykhailo said from the start that in the course of preparation of Fifth Biennale, there were some risks. And what were these risks? First of all, this is the responsibility that appear at this large event. This is reputation risks and other things like this. Risks can be different, starting from technical, that, for example, some artist won't come or his work won't come, and also some concept things concerning the senses of these works, because there are many works and many senses, and all this happen in big and small exhibitions. There is a risk that for example, equipment will not be good, or there will be projectors that we will find throughout Ukraine, and we create a special, and we've created crowdfunding in Odessa. For Change organization will help us in different ways. And if we speak about ideological risks, there is some sort of provocation, and I believe that if we look at problems, if we see the art as some problem, there is also always some sort of provocation in this. And we believe that there are always critics. This is the specificity of contemporary art. And the artist should be on top of the wave, and it is not comfortable there. So you said that you have 100 participants from 32 countries, and it is noted here that there were 500 applications. That was terrible. Yes. The matter is, we announced open call, but we didn't do it at international level, and this year, due to initiative of Nikolai, open call was also made in the world, and Ukrainian artists, they are passive, more passive than foreign. They should be motivated. They should be called. So there were some applications, several tens of applications. So we announce open call, and we review the applications, and there is a curator, also approach, and people can address a curator. We have curator projects at Biennale, and we can propose some artists to take part in Biennale. And this year, in the Contemporary Art Museum, email failed, and on the 1st of January, and hundreds of letters, everything stopped, and it was difficult to read these letters timely. I know that Renaissance Foundation support the part of the exhibition concerning the East. So is this a separate program? Not only about the East. Cultural diplomacy for the dialogue? Yes. And I repeat it. The problem, Ukrainian problems, they are the most interesting and the most acute for us. Another matter is that our Ukrainian problems are not only our problems. It happens so that what is going on here, it also happens in other countries of the world. And in this project, we applied to, the matter was about borderline regions and Carpathian region, and there are different ethnicities, and it would be great to also have them in the project, and this was one of our main aims. So the support of Ukrainian artists is important. Foreign artists, they have their special funds. They have the opportunity to have a travel grant for participation, for production, and we do not have special state or non-governmental grant support for contemporary art, and we have hope that we will have this. And tomorrow there will be a meeting of expert council concerning contemporary art at the Ministry of Culture of Ukraine. And I will say there, and I would like to say, why did we establish such a council if we don't have these contests? Cultural diplomacy for dialogue, this can be any cultural event. So, Subcarpathian region, Odeshchina, Nikolaevchina, and all other regions, they are included in our project. Why Kharkiv is absent? It is also near the border. Did I understand? Did I answer your question? So, now questions from the audience. Do you have questions? Please ask. Introduce yourself first. Good afternoon, Alexandra UCMC. About logistics. So 5 main platforms plus some non-official platforms that if a person comes for several days and want to see everything, will this person be able to go to all exhibitions? Because this is not only pictures, it can be some performances. So will it be really possible for a person to come and see everything? First, I would like to say that the Biennale will be from 26th of August till 30th of September. So if a person comes, the person will be able to see all the events, but there will be separate events, and they will be held throughout the Biennale. And I would like to add, if you come to Istanbul Biennale, this is the big event. This is bigger than event in Odessa and more powerful event. So this is an example. So at big Biennale, they have a lot of platforms. And there was the Kiev school, and I came to Kiev, and I was able only to attend 4 locations, and there were more what to do. But I have hope that for the journalists who will be accredited for Odesa Biennale. I don't know how it will be done. There will be special transport provided in order that they could see. Maybe if you have such information. No, I'm not specialist in this. This is a separate issue. You can ask this question to our representative at our press center. He is here with us, Andriy. You can ask him. I'm not sure that he knows it now, because this mechanism of accreditation was not developed, but you can have his contacts and ask him later. So if you said about maximum comfort for journalists in order to highlight this event in the media, so there are addresses and you can find this information on sites. Yes, there is accreditation on the site. There are contact data you can address. And later, there will be an agenda provided, and all the events and discussion platforms with wonderful speakers, all separate events in the course of Biennale. And there will be several openings in the first days of the work of Odesa Biennale. Radislava Chekmusheva Renaissance Foundation. Tell us, please, in more detail about the criteria for selection. So 500 applicants and 100 participants. So what were the criteria for selection of participants? Thank you. I love Renaissance Foundation very much. I worked in the office in Odessa, and in the 1990s I was the director of Soros Odessa Art Center, and this was supported by Renaissance Foundation. And what are the criteria you've asked? So if I liked this work, so I took them. So this is the responsibility of the curator. If you are speaking about criteria, these works should be contemporary art, not just new media. There can be paintings, but they should be in the context of contemporary art. There should be an acute issues. And there should be reflection of social and political issues, and this is done by curators. All curators do the same. So there are formal criteria, concept of Biennale that was published, and there are people who take decisions. So my assistant, he often forgot that he is assistant, and he pressured me, and we are really different. We were really different with Miroslav Kulczycki. We have different aesthetic interests, but we were thinking alike, and when there was an internal contradictions in the team, it should be there for this kind of art, but we should be united in one important thing. I'm not young. I do not like something modern, something fashionable. I do not like many things, and even when I was young, I was not fashionable. I believe that something I just cannot understand. And Mykola, he helped and he even pressured me. So this is his responsibility. Thank you. Do you have other questions? Please ask. Olena Goncharuk, Dovzhenka Center. I thank Leonid that he deliberated upon the issue of participation of museums. So 5 museums take part in this event. And due to your passion and activity, you have chances to change them. No. We have only an opportunity to help these museums to better understand these topics. And this is the biggest risks, because our respectful, and I worked in Odessa Art Museum for many years, and I liked it really very much, but I cannot cooperate with them now. There is traditional area. I like traditions, I respect traditions, but traditions die without innovative approach to their preservation, representation, and so on and so forth. Their interpretation. And in this sense, it is difficult to work, but we work with the state museums. But we cannot motivate them. We just open windows, maybe. So the museums, they are like platforms, like locations, except Blashinov Museum, Svetlana Astapova, is open to innovation, and she is the leader for us, and here we don't have any problems. So maybe the situation will change. We hope for this. Okay. And do you envisage some laboratory for artists who can work on the texts, because we lack texts? What do you mean about laboratory? Maybe some location or the opportunity for journalists who write about art to work with the painters, with artists. So many works are accompanied with texts, and with these texts will be presented on site, the work or the documentation of the project together with the text concerning this work. Also a concept will be provided, and the curator excursions will be held, and also lectures will be delivered by our speakers, but our guests on the problems of modern art. What else can I add? So I would like to comment. The problem is for journalists, because not many journalists can write about culture. When they come to event, they want, for example, to write something, and for them it is difficult to find the maybe there should be some consultations provided in the format of consultations or discussions. So if I say curator excursion, and the Biennale will start with this. So first there will be a curator excursion for the journalists who will come. this is not just an excursion. This is a discussion, everything you need. There's no special program. You cannot do it in 1 or 2 days. So for the last half year, I held a school for underground critics in Odessa. This was for more than half year. Each week, after work, we gathered 8, 9 people. We didn't have graduation ceremony. They continue to work and they will write about Odesa Biennale. This is not easy. It is good when there is art critic, because cultural journalism and art criticism, this is not the same. These are different genres. I like journalists, but even more I like art critics, but we lack them. So there are, of course, those who, maybe there are 5 or 6 people in Ukraine. Do you need names? Oh, I still want to live. But it is good that we have them. We are glad that we have them. This is good. So for the journalists, in the framework of this Curator excursion, they can get information about the event, we can have discussions, and art criticism is a separate specialty. There are many art critics, but not in the sphere of modern art, because there is no officially there is no contemporary art in Ukraine. Then there was a report about the new law on cultural fund of Ukraine, and there is a list. So the art is painting, graphics, decorative and applied arts. This is all. And so there should be such a thing established that there should be such a notion as contemporary art. And here we have, in our country, we have different approach. But in Dragomanova, they started a course, a pilot course on it. I do not know other institutions in Ukraine and where we can find specialists. In Shevchenko University, they started to do it. They only start. So there is a threat, I believe. Do we have such a city, Moscow? And they started to create quasi-institutions, state center of modern contemporary art or state contemporary art museums, but it's not like it is done in the West. So there is an appropriation of contemporary art by the state. This is just a visiting card for the West, that they are civilized, and they use these institutions for political reasons. And we even do not have this. And if there is, and there is a threat that there can be such state centers and museums created, and this is not like it is done in the world, but still maybe it can be done. So we spoke a lot about 5th Odesa Biennale. Now we speak about Odessa. So Odessa as a city, as administration, what is their attitude to your event? Do they help?
You understand that as an independent curator, art historian, art critic, I'm suspicious to any authorities, local authorities including, but local authorities, self-governments, yes, they are going to support Odesa Biennale of Contemporary Art, and I hope they will support it some way. Well, the main thing for them not to interfere with you. No, they support us. They need this event and they understand this, how much it is needed, how much it is required. This is critics of local authorities, whether they are tolerant to critics. Yes, they are rather tolerant. As for me, I try not to use such phrases as power. Nobody is in power over me. The city should support such events, and we have already spoken today that governmental bodies should support such events, and the 6th Biennale, I hope, will be fully supported by Odessa municipal administration. Let's hope. We have some time. More than half an hour, we can continue our Q&A round.
Юрий Вакуленко, Киевская национальная картина.
Odessa National Gallery. Yes, you are right. Museums are hard institutions, difficult institutions to work with, but with our museum AIDAS project some time ago worked with, and we did in Kharkiv Museum and in our museum different exhibitions. It was a combination of contemporary art and classic art, and it is almost interactive museum. So how can we interact? How can classic and contemporary museum interact? We had some practice of interaction. We have location at our locations, a German project. We hosted it, but not everyone agreed because it is a complicated location. It supposes some limits, including ideological ones. At the Biennale, how Western and Oriental arts define the locations. The Western and Oriental Arts Museum proposes us to display rooms which are prior to repair condition. This is very interesting problem in this context. I like how regularly National Museum of Arts hosts exhibitions. It was a very good best practice project of contemporary art exhibited there. But not only contemporary arts and special funds demonstrated the concept was defined, the problem what outlined. So the National Museum of Arts regularly proposes such exhibitions, and this concerns interference of contemporary and classic arts. All leading museums in the world they are doing so. When I worked in Odesa Museum, we conducted a very interesting project. I can tell you about this, about masochism, Jurich and Podolchak. We had an art piece of social realistic genre. It was a revolutionary Potemkin ship, sailors, bring the corpse of some revolutionary. So that was a very big picture, and there was a Jurich and Podolchak project. They did nothing. They just stood for half an hour. They just posted for half an hour a terrarium of glass. It was with meat, and on the meat there were some worms, white worms, and the text on behalf of worms addressed the spectators. This Stalin's patheticism, it's this pathetics, it can't be overcome. But nothing was in this location, only this picture on the wall and very big terrarium where the worms was demonstrated in the center of the room. But the administration of this art house of our museum, they forbid, and well, the contact with spectators took place. It was a historical moment recorded in the Arsenal 2012. We had the similar problem of political, pornographic, and sanitary nature on the part of administration of museum, maybe concerning museums safety, maybe some local spaces should host such things. I don't think that the scalp our skull, it was forbidden because of anti-sanitary condition related to some fungi. In any place in the world, all over the world, museums experiment and find the cross points of classical works with contemporary arts, and I think for this they provide special locations, special spaces, even in the scope of some museums. For example, in Louvre, there was also such practices, special displays. So introduction, interference of contemporary art, we also practice this, but the main thesis here is if you want much, you can fly to space. Thank you for touching for this topic of this mosaic. We demonstrated here in order to put focus on the topic of preservation of Soviet time mosaics in Ukraine, and we have managed to do this because the decommunization process for some reason sees all mosaics at the communist heritage. So all those worms and meat which you told about, they had their impact on the development of arts in Ukraine. We only learn how to do that. We should not be in some haste. We have been learning for 25 years already. Are there any more questions? No questions. Before ending officially our press conference, just remind when and where the 5th Odesa Biennale of Contemporary Art will be hosted. We hope that the 5th Odesa Biennale of Contemporary Art will start on August 26, 2017 and last till September 30th of the same year, this year, and after that we start our preparations to the next 6th Biennale. You see here the website addresses where you can read all the information what will be happening during 1 month in the city of Odessa.